AI can actually enable you to be more powerful.
Give my resume to 200 people. I don't hear back from any one of them.
We actually induct civil engineers to do sales role.
All right. So I'll start off with a very direct question to both of you, sir. So a lot of civil engineering graduates, even at IITs and IISc, when they come out fresh, they say that, oh, it's difficult to get jobs, it's difficult to get employments, etc. Right? Salary may be a second portion of it, but the fact that, hey, I give my resume to 200 people, I don't hear back from any one of them. Two questions. One, is there really a scarcity of jobs, or is there something else that you're looking for that the people who apply generally don't have or are lacking?
So I'll take this.
Yeah. Same question for both, but you can start. And
Yeah,
then
I'll tell you. See, there is a big difference when we talk about a job and a career.
Okay.
It's very important what as students you all want to build. You want to build a career, then job is just a stepping stone. Typically what I've seen in civil engineering today, there is a dearth of quality civil engineers across segments. When I say segments, across sectors in India, we are struggling big time. But there are enough opportunities in this civil engineering discipline for all of you to make a career, to build a career. Now you may end up in doing a job initially in a particular sector, but you can become an expert in civil engineering over a period of time, and that's what should matter to all of you, not getting a job. We generally, at least I have seen in last 10 odd years, in JSW Cement, when we started expanding, it was really, really difficult to get in people for civil engineering, from the civil engineering background. Why? Because most of your assignments would primarily be in very, very remote locations, where projects are being set up, be it a factory, be it national highways, be it anything. I'm not saying there are not opportunities in the urban sector, but most of you will end up having assignments in the beginning of your career in rural sector, which are very remote, far off places. And because all of you study in good colleges, which is primarily in cities, you are exposed to various other facilities which you may not get in remote locations. That's where is the challenge. So it's yes, people may be rejecting civil engineers in the beginning, but believe me, today is the time when there is a significant challenge to get quality civil engineers to the industry.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sir, what about in large projects, large infrastructure projects? So, is there enough jobs, number one? And to build on what sir also mentioned, when you say engineers have to go on sites in remote locations, etc., right? What facilities do you think would be available there so that it's more enticing for our guys to work there?
Yeah, so I'll just continue from what the other panelist had mentioned. See, we are talking about the scarcity of the job. Now look at every year how many civil engineers are graduating. The number of people who are coming out of the institutions. Let's say 30 to 40,000 civil engineers across the country are graduating out, of which you will see that 15 to 20% on the lower side, I'm saying, they opt for higher education. So for the balance of the people, you have very few large organizations, very few premier institutes. Typically, large infrastructure organizations do not go to institutions other than IITs and the premier NITs. Now, so that is the reality of the day. Now, imagine that you have 10 great organizations, and if you look at the past records in terms of the number of people they hire, it's in few hundreds and thousands, whereas number of people who become job ready from the qualification sense is very high. So from that context, if you look at only core opportunities, I have done civil engineering, I want to go to the construction site and be a civil engineer there, will I get really a mapping with what I studied versus what I will practice? The answer is it's not true for everybody, right? For example, you might also go for something related to the adjacent areas. So the first thing what I would say is that when you come out of the institution, if you are not in a position to choose, then you should start identifying areas which are of your interest and you can adapt. So the point is that today I have seen in my the recent experience, we select the students, we get them to the orientation for 1 month, and then when the placement announcement happens, somebody is very happy because he is posted in a Mumbai metro project. Somebody is not so happy because he is going to be in Arunachal Pradesh managing a transmission distribution project. And people keep coming to us asking for, can I get a posting somewhere close? I said, we can't, if you have a project next to your house, possibly we can give you, right? So therefore, we need to be more realistic. While the organizations are willing to, do whatever that we can do in terms of making, the young talent shine, but it is also very important for the young talent to understand today the business is not so easy as it, as people think on the other side. So there is a lot of pressure, especially in construction projects. If you look at large infrastructure project, while the opportunities are there, we also want students to understand that each one may not get what they exactly want, but they will definitely get an opportunity in whatever capacity that is possible. I would say even a small organization you join, please do not underestimate small organizations, because that is where you learn the depth of what you are learning, right? Possibly I know some of them who have joined a small organization, but then they understood the core of the business what they are doing, and they add large value when as part of the career transition. Your first job is not going to be your lifetime job. Your first job is a starting point of your long career journey, and I look at it that way. So while scarcity from the definition of what we discussed is yes true, but good talent will always get an opportunity, and companies are looking for that good talent.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Actually, what you said reminds me of an incident I would say an anecdote from my own life, right? So when I was in my third year of engineering, I did a internship in, I don't want to name the company, a big company, all right? It was a decent enough company, and the challenge was, okay, they said, oh, you know the code, you have taken steel design course, design a gantry girder for a gantry crane. I said, okay, I'll do it. I did that. Then my mentor came to me. He said, okay, these are some mistakes that you've made. So, okay, change it. I changed that. And I started learning, okay, in theory, in class, these are the equations we use. This is how we design. In practice, okay, they were saying that if we keep a bolt here, we cannot actually use this. So there's some practical constraints there. I learned something. But for that entire 2.5 months internship, I was designing the same gantry girder again and again and again in different sites. That's it. Right? There was nothing more for me to do there. The next summer, I took an internship in a startup. Right? A startup that one of my seniors founded. And being a startup, the number of employees there was 8. So when I joined, me and a friend of mine joined, we contributed to 20% of the workforce of that startup. So it was not, again, just designing the same boring thing. We were actually involved in all the meetings. When they got a project to design a dome, we did the calculations for curved elements, etc. We sat with the founders of the startup, etc. And we actually sat with them, designed. I learned a lot more in the startup. And the first internship is what drove me to academia, that हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, corporate job will not work for me. I cannot sit and design the same beam again and again. But the startup, I was like, okay, if I don't do research, I'm going to have a startup and do something with a small company. So I completely agree with you that small companies really give you the chance to learn everything. But there is also something to be said about working in a large organization, right? There is something to be said working as part of a team, going to different places across the country, etc.
So, see, the point is, look at adjacent areas also. Keep your mind open, because today many of the adjacent areas are opening up. Earlier, there used to be a conventional thinking that if I have done my bachelor's in civil engineering, then the first option that comes to my mind is, site engineer or construction engineer at site. But then you look at today's the construction, the technology adoption, and in terms of the digital advancement that have happened, it opens up whole lot of opportunities for you. You can be part of a design office, you can be part of sustainability initiatives, you can be part of digitalization initiative, because for the coming years, if you talk about the large mega projects and the government initiatives, the expectation is that we need to really move the needle in the direction related to sustainability and digitalization, and these are core areas that are supporting the construction and helping in advancement of the economic growth of the country as a whole. So I think adjacent areas, there are multiple opportunities, and you should look at those as well when you are looking at core construction.
Thank you, sir. That's a very important point, especially with our new generation. How many of you use ChatGPT on a... there we go. Right? How many of you use ChatGPT to solve your assignments?
Oh.
How many of you check the answers that ChatGPT gives? You see, with each progression, like the number of people keeps coming down.
Yeah.
Right? So absolutely, it's important to use these modern tools, right? And again, sorry, I'm going back into my mode as a lecturer or professor here. See, one advice that I have for all of you over here is ChatGPT and AI are fantastic tools, okay? But at the end of the day, they are tools. It's like a screwdriver. It's a tool. With any tool, you can use it, you can choose not to use it, and you can misuse it. You have three options. Screwdriver, you can use it to screw things properly. You can choose not to use it. You can also choose to use it as a hammer and break the screwdriver, right? That is misusing it. So keep that in mind. ChatGPT, AI, they are all very good tools, but you have three options, and you should do what is right and appropriate for that. On this note, sir, I have a question for you, since you are in HR, etc., right? And you deal, I'm assuming, a lot with the hiring process, etc. What are some of the skills that you want to see in our graduates?
So I'll not get into the core civil engineering or technical skills per se. As I said in the beginning, if you really want to build a career, you have to acquire certain competencies while studying. He made a very valid point. How many of you would like to go and stay in a remote place for 3 months at a stretch? This is a competency that you have to build. Now, if I have to answer your question directly, what I look for when I hire people as civil engineers or any other qualification is basically the ability to stand alone. That's very important. For any job, that's very important. The second is adaptability. I've studied from a premier college. Am I adaptable to the need of the business? I'm not saying you be adaptable with everyone, but adaptability to the needs of the business is very important. That we look for when we go and hire freshers. Correct? Recently, I did a campus drive, or a recruitment drive rather, in northern India. Believe me, 80 civil engineers had applied for sales role. 80 civil engineers, they're not from premier colleges, but they applied, and we have selected. We have selected some of them. The skills that I look for there is the hunger to build a career and hunger to contribute to the business. And in civil engineering, you'll study everything, correct? You'll study everything, around construction technology, all of that. But these are certain skills that we generally look for when we induct people to the organization as freshers, as people who would have just finished their courses, eager to get into the job market and build a career. Yeah, that's one. The other thing is, it's more like a skill. You may end up doing any job in any business. It could be in construction side, it could be in manufacturing, it could be in IT, it could be in services, wherever. But fundamentally, from day one, I generally suggest people to know the business end to end. For example, if you take up a job in a construction site, assume that it's a real estate, multi-storied commercial complex coming up. Yeah. If you start thinking your job as a civil engineer to ensure construction happens properly, then you are not learning anything. These aspects you, in any case, you would have learned in your academics. What matters the most is if you can see why this building is required, in what way it makes business sense, and in what way you can add value. Assuming that 10 crores were assigned for construction only, is there a way you can optimize that by using your own skills? Say a normal finance guy may or may not be able to do that, but as a civil engineer, you can. These are skills which are not taught in the during your academics, correct? But these are very, very helpful when you start throwing yourself into the job market. If you acquire these skills on your own, you'll be there. Believe me, you'll be there. You'll find enough jobs for you available in the market. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, sir. One of the reasons I asked how many of them use ChatGPT is my students sometimes raise a concern with me that, sir, Microsoft has laid off so many people because AI has been able to replace all the job they do. Right? So far, I've seen that happen in, I think, the IT sector. I've seen it happen in some of the, what I would say, low to low medium skill sector, etc., where it's repetitive jobs, where it's out AI has been able to take. Do you see a similar trend in civil engineering where we need to be a little concerned that AI will take away our job? And this corollary to that question is, since all of them are anyway familiar with ChatGPT, how can they use AI to their advantage to improve their skills, etc., so that they become more industry ready?
I'll answer. I'll take this question in two parts. Believe me, the research says AI can replace any job and every job except physiotherapy. That's the research data. Yeah. But believe me, AI is to be used for our own advantage. It's not going to replace jobs or it's not going to take away jobs. But if we start learning AI or technology for that matter, to a large extent, not the way we are using it today, then there are multiple opportunities that will come up. For example, engineering drawing, correct? Can it be replaced by AI? Can AI replace it? How many of you would agree to this? Yeah?
I'll agree because we designed, we checked it. We
Correct.
used ChatGPT too.
But the fact still remains, AI may replace engineering drawing, but can AI use it on the ground? That's where you all need to focus. What is the usage of technology in our own jobs is very important. Believe me, in HR, every job can be replaced by AI. Every job can be replaced. Every role that we do can be replaced. But the only thing AI cannot possibly do when it comes to a role in HR is the connect with the employees in any organization. That's where emotion comes into play, and AI cannot possibly replace that as of now. In future, I don't know. But you all should learn the technologies that are coming up. You all should also know how it is to be used. I always say this to the students. All of us believe that information is power or knowledge is power. What do you all believe? Information remains always information. You know about ChatGPT, AI, that's only information, correct? When you start acquiring those information, internalize it, that becomes your knowledge. The moment you start applying your knowledge in whatever you do, that becomes your power. Correct? What you're asking me, AI can actually enable you to be more powerful in whatever you do. That's the way it should be used. Yeah. Does
Thank
it
you.
answer that question?
Yes, thank you, sir. Again, I would also like to hear from the big infrastructure players on how our graduates can use AI to their advantage to be industry ready by the time they come to apply for jobs with you and start working with you.
Sure. So I will also address the skill and competencies part of it. because I think he mentioned about the other behavioral and the competencies non-technical. I want that triggered actually some thought in my mind. What are things that you should know today? See, what is happening is that what you are learning in civil engineering is very, very basic, and which helps you to enter into the organization, and what organizations are doing and what they need in terms of competencies, technical competencies are very different. I give you an example. In terms of your civil engineering curriculum, first year is all common subjects, the basic things. Second year onwards, you enter into your specialization. You get a orientation towards the basic material knowledge and the structural analysis, and then finally you reach the design. You get a overall understanding, but you also study many other subjects related to irrigation engineering and all that. Now, when you do all this and when you come out, this education helps you to adapt to any of the work requirement that is going to be presented to you. But the point is, what the company is actually hiring for the role is a building engineer or a planning engineer as you start. So, if you have to be a building engineer or a planning engineer or you are a quantity surveyor, typically what students do is that's where they realize that, oh, I am not employable now, therefore I need to do a higher education. Yeah. So people go and acquire either a master's, or they also go to any management institution, and then they come back to the companies, and organizations also go and hire people. If you are directly joining an organization, if it is a large organization, then possibly you will have an opportunity to enhance your career. But I want at this point in time to also understand that most of the times we are reactive. Today we are at a stage, I want a job, so I get a job. But we are not proactive in understanding what is going to be the future skill and requirement. Am I continuously upgrading myself is a question which will naturally connect to the AI development. Now, 2 months ago, I went to ChatGPT and said, when will my role will be replaced? Okay, so it asked me, these are things that you need to put. And it says that for next 15 years, your job is safe. So I need only 10 years, so I said, okay, I am safe. Now, what is the difference? The difference is only that these are some of the competencies which are directly connecting to people. Like, for example, designing a curriculum or delivering the program in a classroom environment, connecting with people, and these are some of the skills which AI cannot do. Also, please understand, the concept of AI is more in terms of how do we manage large data, how do we make smart use of the AI as a technology, as an assistant, not as a master that the roles like stenographer is completely disappeared today. Once upon a time, it used to be a great role. But what AI, in my view, can do is it would eliminate the routine processing and the related job roles, but it is also bringing in new job roles, like, for example, BIM engineer, or you are a digital twin engineer, or construction modeler. These jobs never existed before. Those are new jobs that are emerging. So we are in a dynamic setup where certain job roles will disappear, certain new job roles will emerge, and the whole the thing is so dynamic and in a changing environment. The only thing what I want you to kind of always remember is that there is no replacement for continuous learning. Today, the learning becomes so critical for each one of us in whatever role that we do, that if we are not learning and gaining new skills, equally important are those non-technical skills, like how you connect with stakeholders, how you write emails, how do you present your ideas. All these become very critical if you want to grow. And it comes through practice, it comes through your passion. And it's not that I got a great job in a great company, so I will be happy. Maybe after 2-3 years, you will realize that because you have not enhanced your skills, you are not going to be moving forward. So the point what I'm trying to tell you here is, there are certain roles which the organizations can readily deploy you and train you in short duration, maybe a site engineer or a quality engineer. But you remember, if you don't enhance from there further, it's going to be difficult.
Thank you, sir.